On the planet Yaoya Prime, a runt predator named Dek is in the middle of a training session. He uses several tools to move across the land until he enters a cave, where his scanner indicates that his brother is hiding nearby. Dek strikes from behind with his sword, but Ki blocks it just in time. The brothers begin fighting, and Ki keeps taunting Dek as they move, reminding him to use the cave to his advantage. Their swords clash repeatedly as they move throughout the cave. After trading enough blows, Ki manages to corner Dek but chooses not to kill him. When Dek refuses to yield, Ki cuts the pillar they're standing on, sending Dek falling into the abyss. Dek saves himself by grabbing onto the wall. Later, aboard their ship, Ki tells Dek it's time to choose a prey so he can earn his place in the Yaoya clan. Dek wants to go to Jenna, also called the Death Planet, to hunt the unkillable monster known as the Callisk. Even their father fears it, which is exactly why Dek wants to hunt it. He's tired of his father seeing him as weak. Ki disapproves, but Dek makes his vow anyway. At that moment, their father Enjar returns, and Dek welcomes his honor by offering a sample of his blood. Enjar questions why Dek is still alive, revealing that he ordered Ki to kill him for being too weak to join the clan. Ki, however, believes Dek deserves a chance to prove himself. An enraged Enjar throws a device that restrains Dek and orders Ki to kill him immediately. Instead, Ki frees Dek and activates his laser to send him into the ship. Ki then raises his shield to protect his brother as Enjar opens fire. After sealing the ship to prevent Dek from escaping, Ki fights Enjar and quickly disarms him. Enjar activates his camouflage cloak, but Ki continues attacking. Enjar stabs Ki's hand and then cuts off his arm. He strikes Ki down, and as Ki crawls away, he reaches for his severed arm instead of his sword. Enjar calls him weak and stabs him. With his final breath, Ki activates the ship so Dek can travel to Jenna. Dek watches as the launch knocks Enjar unconscious. Sometime later, Dek wakes to an alarm. The ship has been damaged by orbital debris and is hurtling toward Jenna. Dek rushes to the seat and ejects it, sending himself falling at extreme speed through Jenna's sky. When a bird nearly collides with him, he activates his shield. He crashes into the jungle and roars in frustration. Determined to find the monster, Dek checks his weapons to ensure everything is working. A nearby noise startles him, and he begins searching the area. Suddenly, a vine-like creature ambushes him and steals one of his weapons. Dek draws his sword, but another vine grabs his arm, forcing him to cut it while the first escapes. More vines appear and grab his leg, dragging him along the ground. Dek pulls out his bow and shoots the vine holding him, forcing it to release him. He punches another vine to keep it back, retrieves his sword, and quickly slashes at the attackers. No matter how many he cuts down, more keep coming, even attacking together. Dek dodges several strikes and jumps onto a vine, running along it to reach the top of a cliff. The vines can't reach him there, giving Dek a terrifying view of the planet. Afterward, Dek washes his wound in a river and uses his scanner to locate a medicinal plant that doubles as an explosive. On a leaf, he finds a worm that grows red spheres. When he tosses it away, it explodes. Dek continues exploring, searching for the Callisk. In a large field, he encounters strange red plants that hiss at him, forcing him to move carefully. Suddenly, he hears a voice speaking an unfamiliar language and looks up to see Thea trapped in a massive nest. Realizing he can't understand her, Thea switches to the universal translator, revealing she's a synthetic android. A Jenna vulture appears and throws a rock at the plants, causing them to explode in red smoke and fire needles. Dek narrowly dodges them. Thea explains the needles can paralyze him so the vulture can eat him. She offers help, but Dek insists the Yaoya hunt alone. Thea guesses he's after the Callisk. The vulture throws more rocks, activating more plants, and Dek is hit by the needles. As he grows dizzy, Thea asks for a weapon. Dek tosses her a blade before collapsing. The vulture swoops down, but Thea tackles it and brutally kills it. Dek sees her wave before passing out. Minutes later, Dek wakes after Thea administers an antidote made from the same flower. He helps her up and notices she's missing half her body. She explains she's a synthetic sent by the Way and Yutani Corporation, since humans can't survive on the planet. Dek doesn't care and drops her. Thea explains that many Yaoya have come for the Callisk and none survived, but she did. If Dek takes her along, she'll guide him to the monster's den. That way, she gets her legs back, and he gets his trophy. Dek realizes the Callisk destroyed her but remains uninterested until she refers to herself as a tool. Seeing this as acceptable, Dek agrees. As they travel, Thea constantly talks and asks questions. At a river, strange worms shoot acid at them, forcing Dek to carry Thea on his back. When their path is blocked, Thea shows him a trick by throwing a sticky fruit that distracts the creatures. Later, Dek cuts vines and ties Thea to his back for easier movement. That night, they camp, and Thea shares that her crew arrived 2 years earlier. She'd been trapped in the nest for nearly 2 weeks, hoping another synthetic named Tessa would rescue her. She explains synthetics have higher sensitivity, which Dek considers weakness, though Thea sees it as an advantage. Meanwhile, it's revealed Tessa looks identical to Thea, and was severely damaged in the Callisk attack. She's being repaired and repeatedly recalls Thea's name. The system reminds her that her priority is capturing the Callisk and identifies Dek as a threat. The next morning, Dek hunts for food and encounters a bone bison, a common Callisk prey. Razor grass blocks his path. A small creature suddenly drops down nearby. Dek roars at it, but it roars back before chasing the bison unharmed by the grass. Enraged, Dek follows by leaping through trees. A branch breaks, but he saves himself with his blade. He jumps onto the bison and stabs it, but it throws him off. Dek tackles the small creature, leading to a rough fight that repeatedly squashes Thea. Despite the creature's strength, Dek grabs it by the neck. When the bison charges again, Dek throws his sword, holding its jaws open as the blade slices it in half. Dek roars in victory until a tentacle grabs his leg. A lunar bug captures them, preventing Dek from using his gear. Just before they're eaten, the small creature jumps into the bug's mouth and breaks its teeth. The lunar bug spits them out and retreats across the razor grass. Seeking revenge, Dek uses a fallen tree as a bridge, confronts the creature again, and finally kills it. Meanwhile, Tessa's crew finds Dek's pod and is attacked by vines. They burn them away. That night, Dek and Thea camp again. The small creature follows them, mimicking Dek. Thea names it Bud. Dek shares meat and tells Thea about his family. She calls his pain grief, which he denies. The next morning, Dek leaves without Bud, insisting he hunts alone. Thea explains wolf pack behavior, but Dek misunderstands. After finding a Callisk fang, they reach Thea's destroyed base. Thea recovers her legs and reconnects herself, but activates a beacon for her crew. Dek refuses to leave. A fight with the Callisk begins. Dek wounds it, but its regenerative abilities heal everything. The battle escalates until Tessa freezes both Dek and the Callisk. Dek later wakes captured. Tessa experiments on him until Thea intervenes. Eventually, chaos breaks out, Dek escapes, and he regroups. Remembering his brother's words, Dek returns prepared, using natural weapons. He realizes Bud is the Callisk's child and protects it. Dek infiltrates the base, reunites Thea with her legs, and together they sabotage the operation. Tessa confronts them in a combat suit, but the Callisk destroys her after Dek interferes. Tessa survives briefly, only to be killed by Dek. Finally, Dek returns home and confronts his father. He defeats him and refuses the clan, declaring he already has won. As another ship arrives, Dek reveals it belongs to his mother. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.